2 balls and a strike to count on Taylor. Reyes fires, swinging a drive, deep left field. This is way back. Walk him off. Chris Taylor.
What's up, everyone? Welcome into DodgerHeads Live, presented by DodgerBlue.com, part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network. My name is Jeff Spiegel, joined this morning by Daniel Starkand. We have a special guest that's going to be hopping on and joining us as well, but we're here to break down what we sort of knew was going to be the case for a while, Daniel, but this morning the Dodgers made official their City Connect jerseys. They are the Pop-Tart Direct TV, I believe is what Matt Moreno has been calling them, jerseys. They're now official. So the MLB got beaten by some retail store in Japan on this one, apparently. But these jerseys are official and are set to debut on June 22nd against the Angels. What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I just want to thank whoever leaked them, because I guess that took the shock value away from them being released today. We already knew what was coming. We've already talked about how we don't like them, and I guess we're going to get into the aspects that we don't like, but I'm just glad that we're kind of prepared for this, because coming off the Mookie and Yamamoto news yesterday, if we got these, if we were all excited for new Dodger City Connect jerseys today and we woke up and got these and had no idea they were coming, I think that would be way worse. So at least we knew and we were prepared, but yeah, we could get into what we don't like here eventually.
Yeah, no, I joked that they should have released these right before announcing Yamamoto to the injured list. That would have been the move. Like last night we did a live show and we were talking about Michael Grove to the IL, and a bunch of people were like, wait, when did Michael Grove go on the IL? It's like, well, that got buried by the much bigger headline, which is that Yamamoto was headed to the injured list. Our special guest, back from a lengthy time off, but we're excited to have him back on. Matthew Moreno is back with us. He couldn't wait. This, he felt like, was his landing place, Dodger City Connect jerseys. So here he is. Matt, give us your thoughts. Again, we've been cycling through some of the photos if you're watching on YouTube. I'll get to the description that we have here, but just initial reactions to the fact that these are truly, in fact, the Dodger City Connect jerseys.
I've gone back and forth. Some of the pictures of the Ohtani, Freeman, and Smith together, those look okay with the stadium backdrop. And then I realize it's because you're not zoomed in to see the speckles, right? If they had gone maybe just cream with some of these different details, fine. So I start to think that, and then you see Freddie Freeman, and his jersey is it has 05 instead of just 5 for whatever reason. And that's just I can't get on board with something like that. So it's rough. Some stuff is okay, not as bad as it first seemed. And then you look at kind of the details. I will kind of mention also some of the merchandise that's available is actually okay. But I think the biggest reason is it doesn't have the speckled stuff on it. It's just kind of cream with some of the navy blue and things like that.
Yeah, the speckled, it feels like, Daniel, the speckled is what's getting people the most. I think there's kind of 3 pieces to this. There's the new logo, which is the LA with the Dodger D and sort of the swoop thing involved. That seems to be, I would say, getting mostly positive reviews, is what I would say from people I talk to. Then there's the speckling, which feels like the biggest thing that people are bothered by. And then, of course, like Matt said, there's some of the details, the font involved in Los Angeles, the where the names are. It's the DirecTV logo. I think Matt was the first one to say that. So is it the speckles, Daniel, that you think is the piece that bothers you the most?
I think I got to go with Matt here, and I didn't know this was happening, but I think the 0 before the single digit numbers is bugging me so much. And I know it probably shouldn't be, but that to me is just ridiculous. The whole point of having a single digit number is for there to be only 1 digit. So putting a 0 before it is kind of crazy. But obviously that's a smaller thing. I think overall with the jerseys, yeah, of course it's the speckles. I like the off-white color of the uniforms, the cream or whatever Matt was calling it. And I like the piping on the side of the pants and on the edge of the sleeves. I think that looks really good. But I just think, kind of like Matt was saying, they don't look too bad when it's a far away picture where you can't tell that there's spots all over them. But then when you get up close, you obviously see the spots. And that, to me, if I could just kind of remove one thing, it would definitely be that.
Yeah, Matt, do you agree? Is it the confetti, the strawberry Pop-Tart decorations that has you bothered the most?
I mean, there's probably a tie between that and the 0-5 for the
Yeah,
single digit
crazy.
players. And then honestly, might even have to do a three-way tie where on the back of the jersey,
Yeah.
how the numbers are like cut and sort of disappear. Like it's that stuff I just don't necessarily get. And this is, I'd be remiss to come back without involving some sort of food take.
I love
I'm
it.
a big funfetti cake fan. Like that's my birthday kind of cake of choice if my wife's going to be making something for me, or not if, like when she'll ask me what kind of, what do you want to do? Like that's my preference. So I'm a funfetti fan, but not on a jersey designed by any means.
Yeah. And to be clear, the back of these jerseys, we gotten confirmation that the rumored back of these jerseys is official, because all the pictures I've seen are only of the front. Are there some that it's confirmed that it's like the name kind of undercutting the bottom of the jersey? That's confirmed.
Yeah, and one of the Dodgers promo videos they put out, they have the players like the backs facing the camera, and you can see that it is, kind of it disappears, I guess. And all of this does sort of tie into, I don't know if you guys have noticed, like the Dodgers graphics on social media all season long have involved like kind of a space looking theme.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking like, what, like, how does this really apply? Is it carnival? Is it festival? Like it sort of reminded me of like Coachella or like different concerts that like get put on. And I guess now, we can deduce that it ties into the shooting for the stars, which I don't know if you touched into those details.
We haven't. So here's kind of the key points from the press release describing these. So the first is they will debut on June 22nd against the Angels at Dodger Stadium. So that's the first piece of when these are coming out. Here are some of the quotes, kind of the most interesting pieces. The new jerseys for 2024 are a nod to the city's longstanding connection to being a city of dreams and dreamers. A city filled with those shooting for the stars where impossible dreams can turn into reality. I just want to pause right there, Matt, because is that true? Los Angeles, dreams and dreamers. Yes. Coming west, coming to Hollywood, all of that. I don't think of that for one iota of a second when I think about the Dodgers, where I'm like, oh, you know what? This is a team for the dreamers. I don't think about that at all. I think at the root, we've already kind of identified the piece of this that is the most disconnected, where I know it is supposed to connect with the city. And technically, if that is the goal, then I guess they've done that. But Matt, when I read that, I'm like, why are we connecting it with the city? This has nothing to do with the Dodgers.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I think that's what, the Dodgers organization and the front office, typically, and I mean, I've been away, but I have seen some of the discourse, there typically is connection between the front office to Dave Roberts to the players, right? You see the synergy throughout the organization. I think from a marketing standpoint, there has been a disconnect going back to even the All-Star game when they hosted it, when they were supposed to host it before COVID interrupted everything. That All-Star game logo, I remember in the details mentioned Hollywood and stuff like that. But if you look at the Dodgers, especially under Dave Roberts, he has emphasized hey, we're going to play hard. We're going to play, every game. We're not going to take any, we're not going to have the Hollywood lifestyle that I know Anthony Rendon made so popular for the team. So this, I think, is sort of another, oh man, sort of a whiff of, yes, I think in general, Los Angeles is a great city. There are a lot of opportunities here, but a lot of that is Hollywood, which at least on the field, the Dodgers have sort of separated themselves from.
Yeah, and Daniel, I know Scott has mentioned this. If you were going to connect the Dodgers to Los Angeles in some way, I feel like sunshine or the beach would be an infinitely more natural connection rather than Hollywood, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And even if you go back to the Dodgers' first City Connect jerseys, the Los Dodgers ones, I think that was a better connection to the pulse of the city as well. So I think just kind of overall, the league as a whole with these City Connect jerseys, I feel with most of them, they just try to do too much. They try to add this little detail because of this, that little detail because of that. And maybe if you know the backstory, it might sound kind of cool, but it doesn't necessarily look good on a jersey. And I think at the end of the day, that should be the most important thing. I get the whole City Connect, you have to connect it to the city somehow. But I don't think that should be at the cost of ruining what could otherwise be, a good jersey.
Yeah. Some more from this. The font typeface on the new City Connect series is inspired by signage at the historical LA Memorial Coliseum, the Dodgers' original home in LA, while the contrail and upward trajectory speaks to the city's pursuit of what is above and beyond. Matt, you're our resident USC guy here. Did you look at the typeface and think, oh, Memorial Coliseum, nice little nod there?
Yeah, no, not at all. And I mean, I don't, again, like maybe that's on me for not always paying close enough attention to the typeface at the Coliseum. I think that like that detail and wanting, like, it's fine, right? Like on the grand scheme of things, like it's not like we didn't even mention it as to, what we would sort of change or what our biggest issues are with these jerseys. So that's fine. I still don't know, like, if you're watching this on YouTube with us or Twitter and Facebook, like that stripe kind of going across Los Angeles, like that's where the DirecTV sort of meme thing has kind of started. And I don't know. I mean, I think it's on what look, maybe we should just look at this as generally speaking, I think it's a step up on the all blue look that they unveiled, a few years ago, because that wasn't great. So at least this is a slight improvement on that.
Yeah, here's some other notes. The uniform fabric represents a galaxy of stars rendered in the color palette of the Dodger Stadium seats. The galaxy of stars represents the brilliance and diversity of Los Angeles. Again, if you wanted to do something that connected to the multicolored seat level, like, okay, that's cool. That is like a defining feature of Dodger Stadium. But like, this is the way that you chose to do it. Like, honestly, this is going to sound crazy maybe, but like, even if the entire jersey was like paneled with all of the different colors going like north to south, where it was like yellow at the bottom and then orange and then blue and then red, like, even if it was something like that, like, I would be like, that is a more effective way to tie into what I think is at least like of all the inspiration here, Dodger Stadium, cool seats. Like, that to me, Daniel, is the most compelling. Like, oh, that was a good idea. But again, like, how did somebody not look at this jersey and think nobody is going to think of the seats at Dodger Stadium when they look at the Pop-Tarts? Last one here. The colors of the jersey and hat are a new take on the traditional Dodgers colors, cobalt and electric blue, with just a hint of chili red, a nod to the red numbers on primary uniforms. I got none of that. Like, I get none of these things that they're apparently trying. The fact that you have to explain, Daniel, I guess this is the best way to put it. The fact that you have to explain every single element and how it connects to LA, and none of us like initially made these like, oh, I bet this is for the seat numbers and the Memorial Coliseum. And like that in and of itself, I think speaks to just like the failure of these jerseys.
Yeah, I will say at least like the one good thing, at least for me, like at least they didn't go away from blue completely. Yeah. Like I think you see with some other teams, like their City Connect uniforms are just completely different colors from like their actual team colors. So I'm glad they didn't come out with like green and orange jerseys or something like that. Especially orange, like that could be, confused with the Giants. But yeah, I just think like they just kind of tried to do too much. And I agree with you. Like, for me, like if I was working for Nike or whatever and someone showed me like a prototype of this, I would be like, what? Like, what's up with all the spots? Like, why do we need all the spots there? Like, I don't know how anyone didn't really catch that and kind of, axe that before it got all the way to this point.
Yeah. Matt, what's like when you think about these big picture, bottom line, we've talked about kind of how it seems to fail to connect to Los Angeles in the way that most Dodger fans think of the team's connection to Los Angeles. The inspiration, the Coliseum, the seats might have been positive inspiration, and yet like a total failure to connect those things in a way that actually makes sense. And yet these are City Connect jerseys. Most people seem to hate their team City Connect jerseys. They're only going to be worn a handful of times each year. Like, are we making too big of a deal of this? I guess is my sort of final question to you.
No, I mean, I think not necessarily. I mean, it involves the team, and I think it then warrants being discussed and kind of not making fun, but having a good time about it. Like, we're not sitting here saying, Dodgers are going to lose now every game that they're wearing them because these jerseys are terrible, right? Although I know that will be something that people are going to track and we'll definitely, keep that stat. But it's fine. I mean, to sort of look, these jerseys, I guess one way or another for the Dodgers, every time they put these jerseys out, there's discussion about them, right? It's not necessarily always positive, but here we are sitting. We have a nice audience with us. I did see some of the comments, somebody saying that their opinion changed and that they liked them now. I don't know. It might have been early on. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, it is what it is. I think there are a few things that we discussed that, maybe the Dodgers could have done differently or shouldn't have done at all that would have made these a lot better. And so it's like, oh, they were so close to having something that was good enough or okay. And they decided to go with the speckles that I guess our, galaxy, this, that, and the other, which I still
Shooting
like.
for the stars. We're
Yeah.
shooting for the stars here, Matt. Nike was shooting for the stars. That's for sure. We got a super chat from Richard. Sprinkles, hate it. Only thing missing is the Dunkin' Donuts patch. Nothing but a money jersey grab. I mean, and that last sentence is the perfect summation, right? The only reason these City Connect jerseys exist is there. I'll phrase it this way, Matt. Is there a single reason City Connect jerseys as an entity exist outside of a grab for money, giving people one more thing to buy that they don't already have?
I mean, to connect with the city is what at least the teams are pitching. But yeah, it is, Nike, if you also, follow the NBA, and like obviously we have Lakers Nation that Daniel runs for us. The City Connect stuff there, I think, is out of control. Like the different jersey, like what Nike has done. And I enjoy Nike products. I have several Nike shoes and T-shirts and stuff like that. But what they've done with jerseys, I think, is a little misguided. I mean, we've seen the fiasco on the MLB side with the new chasis that's now going to get fixed for next year and all that. So yeah, I mean, it's tough to argue otherwise that this isn't necessarily just a merchandise ploy to try to line some pockets for people.
Yeah. I mean, I guess to Daniel's point earlier, the Los Dodgers ones I think were cool. So they've kind of gone 1 for 3 as far as I'm with you. I hated the all blues. I thought they looked terrible. I know those ones seem to be more popular than these for sure. I mean, I don't think I see some people in the comments, Laura saying she's got a couple coworkers that actually like them. Some people saying they're okay. They're not transparent. I mean, ultimately, I would say I'm probably like when I first saw them, I was like, I don't know. Like the sprinkles thing doesn't bother me nearly as much. I can't unsee the Pop-Tart thing now that I've seen it. What's funny is I don't like the logo, and it seems like most people are okay with the logo. So my bottom line, Daniel, is that it's the Dodgers jersey. There's not really a reason to ever mess with these. If you want to mess with them, there are ways that you can do it while maintaining like the historic value of the Dodgers and go something that route. But I don't know. That's the part that bothers me is like, you don't mess with the Dodgers. You don't mess with the Yankees. You don't mess with the Cubs. Pretty much anybody else, knock yourself out.
Yeah, no, and I think to Matt's point earlier, going back to the NBA and their City Connect or whatever, it's the same thing. And like every time the Lakers go to unveil a new jersey, the Laker fans are saying the same thing. Like, we just want the classic like purple and gold jerseys. We want white uniforms on Sundays, and that's it. Like, people, like, I get like that it's a money grab or whatever, but I think the majority of fans kind of just want the classics. Like, I don't know how many people are necessarily rushing to buy these uniforms. Like, I don't know how much money they're necessarily going to make off of them. I will say some of the other merch, and I know Matt talked about this earlier too, some of the other merch actually looks pretty good, so maybe that will sell more. But as far as just pure jersey sales go, like, I don't think we're going to go to the Dodgers website and these are going to be sold out in like 2 hours or something like that. Like, I think with a lot of these City Connect jerseys, if it is a money grab, which we all know it is, then they should want to make them, as cool as possible so a lot of people buy them. Yeah.
Matt, I mentioned the Yankees. As I just dug into it a tiny bit, there are actually only 9 teams receiving new City Connect jerseys this year. It's the Mets, the Guardians, the Tigers, the Dodgers, and this is their second City Connect jersey, it says, for the Dodgers. So were the Blues not considered a City Connect jersey? Is that right? That was just an alternate?
No, that was the first City Connect.
Oh, the Los Dodgers. Oh, were the Blues? Yeah. Did it say Los Dodgers on the blue ones? Okay, got it.
But then they ditched the blue pants. Was it last year or 2 years ago? They went with white pants with the same jerseys, I think.
And they changed like the hat, like some minor details on it, but that was still considered like kind of one City Connect uniform. So they're the only team. Dodgers are the only team with 2 City Connect uniforms so far.
Got it. Twins, Phillies, Cardinals, Rays, and Blue Jays, other teams that are getting them this year. But the Yankees, I believe, are the only franchise to never have received a City Connect jersey at any point. Is that right?
Yeah, they're noticeably absent so far. I think what the reports have been that they basically have said, like, no, we're not doing it. And obviously, if you follow, I couldn't play for the Yankees right now with my facial hair. They have very strict guidelines for their franchise and organization, and it'll be interesting to see. My guess is at some point, like, they're going to get one, because I don't think MLB, when this was implemented, like, it was pretty clear that it would be for all teams and it would be phased, where like they do, a handful of teams to maybe not what you think you said 9 teams this year.
Yeah.
Like, so it's a phased rollout of it. So my guess is that the Yankees are coming at some point. So it'll be interesting to see if and when and how that happens, because if there's, if they've put their foot down already, I can't imagine they're going to stray too far from their traditional look, which, I think is fine. I think had the Dodgers maybe done something like that and said, well, wait a minute, like we can do this, but it's going to be within reason. Like heading into this, there were a lot of fans clamoring for, even before like the City Connect program was brought over to MLB when Nike took over the jersey contract. Fans wanted the spring training like the blue ones, like those were always the popular jersey. Like fans would say like, oh, they should wear those during the regular season or bring back some of the old blue jerseys that they used to wear stuff. So like there was a way to kind of do this, I think, where you could have almost blended like a retro jersey with this City Connect concept that I personally think would have resonated a lot more with the fan base.
Yeah, and by the way, the Dodgers, the only franchise in Major League to have gotten a second City Connect jersey. So lucky us. There's one other franchise besides the Yankees who do not have a City Connect jersey, which is kind of funny when you think about a team connecting with its city. Anybody want to take a guess which organization besides the Yankees does not have a City Connect jersey?
I think you just gave it away. Is it the Athletics?
The Oakland A's, believe it or not, have made no connection to their city as far as City Connect jerseys, which is just fantastic. It's just that the jokes write themselves there. So shout out to that. Yeah. That's hilarious. But yeah, I'm with you. Again, I just think the Dodgers jersey is such a classic. It has resisted being changed because so many of these other teams have changed their color structure, their color logo, changed their logo, changed their uniform, which is fine. Like I think there's beauty in having teams. I'm just thinking of like the Diamondbacks that have gone through so many changes. Like that's just kind of woven into who they are. Like they're a newer franchise. And so they have this newer thing where they're going to change things up every 7 to 10 years, which is fine. I just think the Dodgers, that seems to be the one that I wish would not change. We do have one more super chat here from our good friend Laura. Welcome back, Matt. Matt making his debut back. So Matt, as Laura says, as we all say, it's great to have you back on camera.
Yeah, thank you, Laura. Thank you, guys. You guys did a great job while I was gone recovering. So I'm hoping to just kind of slide back in and not mess anybody up.
That'll be easy for you. So yeah, let's get to. I believe we have a couple of questions here. So let me see if I can find these questions. I saw one earlier, and I can't find it now.
Do you remember? I can help you scroll. Do you remember what topic it was?
No, That's all right. I can't find it. If you've got any questions, go ahead, throw those in. We can get people.
Oh, sorry. I do see one here from, it's not City Connect. So like we can do baseball and City Connect. This one's from Norm Lee. He wants to know bigger news. He's not worried about the jerseys. He wants to know about Yamamoto and bets, which Jeff, I know you and Blake covered last night.
Yeah, because who cares about losing your two of your 3 or 4 best players, Norm? We're here to talk about sprinkles and Pop-Tart and DirecTV uniforms. All right. No. Look, we talked about it last night. So if you missed it, go ahead and check out the live show. Blake and I did a deep dive on bets and kind of guys that the Dodgers could potentially trade, whether they think they need to make a trade. Yamamoto. I think one thing, and I'll sort of pose it to you guys. Like I joked with Blake beforehand. I said, hey, if this is a stupid question, then just tell me. And so, of course, on the show, he said, hey, I think that's a stupid question. You gave me permission to say this. But my question was, like, initially, when it first happened, I was like, okay, which of these two jerseys or injuries is more significant, Betts or Yamamoto? And the obvious answer is that Mookie Betts is the better player of the two. Like, there's no questioning which of these two players would have more of an impact on the Dodgers' long-term success between Betts and Yamamoto. The reason I think it's not a stupid question and actually interesting is because I'm not convinced Yamamoto is coming back this season. Like, I think Betts, I can say with a pretty decent degree of confidence that he will be back probably around September, which will give him about a month to get ready for the postseason. And I'm not super worried about that. And so, Daniel, the reason I think the conversation is interesting is because if you take how important each guy is individually and then like had some multiplier, which was your degree of confidence that they will play again and be available once the Dodgers make the postseason, that's where I think it at least becomes interesting. I'm still not saying Yamamoto is the answer, but I think it at least makes it more compelling. Am I wrong to be as skeptical about Yamamoto's return with a strained rotator cuff as I am, do you think?
You're not wrong at all. This is the Dodgers we're talking about here. Like I don't think there's ever been a time where they said, an injury timetable and it's actually been that. Like I think they always sound more optimistic than it usually is, I'd say. And obviously, when you're talking about a pitcher and a shoulder issue, that's never a good thing. And yeah, obviously some injuries are worse than others, but there's always a possibility that he takes some time off and then he tries to rehab and come back and it's still giving him issues. And then they decide, hey, we need season-ending surgery here. Like we've seen that with multiple other guys in the past few years. So I think with that being the case, I think what you're saying makes sense. Like if you told me that Mookie's going to be back in September or somewhere around then, which I think like we're talking about a broken wrist here. Like I don't think there's as much of a concern as him having setbacks and stuff like that. So I think it's more of a firm timetable with him. So if you told me that he's going to be back and Yamamoto is probably not going to be back, then yeah, I do think that's a bigger loss. Obviously, if you sat here and told me both are out for the season, that's where I kind of would push back a little and say I think losing Mookie for the season would be a bigger loss. But I do agree with you. I think I have more confidence that Mookie will be back at some point in the regular season. But I think Yamamoto is easier to be replaced, I'd say. Like, I don't think we look at the Dodgers offense. Like, I don't think they could afford to lose Mookie and just throw in Rojas or Kike in there every day. Like, that's a bigger gap than if you're talking about Yamamoto to Bobby Miller or Yamamoto to Landon Knack or Clayton Kershaw when he's going to be back in a month or so. So I do think they have more options at starting pitching to replace Yamamoto, but I do agree that I'm less confident that he will be back compared to Mookie.
Yeah, and GI is clarifying wrist or hand. Fractured hand, I believe, is the diagnosis. Is that right, Matt?
Yeah, that's what I was about to respond to him in the comments. We have been told that it is Mookie's hand. Of course, like, but Mookie, Mookie himself was sort of discussing it, and it definitely did seem like his hand. So we're not necessarily just going based off of Dave Roberts, who sometimes, like with everything he's keeping track, sometimes injury details get a little muddied. But yeah, it should be Mookie's hand.
Well, and Yamamoto's, to be clear, he was put on the injured list with triceps injury, but then more testing was done, which revealed the strained rotator cuff. So they originally put him on the injured list knowing that there was a problem, but not knowing exactly what. So I think at least on that one, when they put him on the injured list, they said, hey, there's still more testing to be done. I believe it was the LA Times that reported that. And then it came out that it was a strained rotator cuff. So not that the Dodgers should be defended on any of their communications regarding injuries, but that one at least made sense as I looked at the timeline of reporting where they're like, oh, he doesn't feel good. Like it's somewhere up there. So we're going to call it a triceps. And then they do the scans and the imaging and they're like, oh, it's actually your rotator cuff that is the issue. So for what it's worth.
And I would say just to add on to that, that's kind of like comparable to when they say like a pitcher has forearm tightness and then he ends up needing Tommy John or something. Like your tricep and your shoulder are right next to each other. So it's very similar issues there. So, whenever they say tricep, you could pretty much assume it's the shoulder. And I would say the one good thing with Mookie is it was his left hand at least. So it's not his throwing hand. So he could at least, continue throwing while he's out, like keep his arm in shape. And that'll help, when he's going on a rehab assignment and coming back or whatever, that should shorten that process at least by a little bit.
Yeah, Johnny with the question, do we now go after a real shortstop? And when do the Dodgers get honest with us and say that Yamamoto needs surgery? The second piece, we have no idea. I mean, if he gets surgery, he gets surgery. The plan is for him not. It's not guaranteed that you need surgery. But I think that what makes it a little bit trickier is if you don't go the surgery route, the timeline is theoretically shorter, but it's also way more unclear. And so if you try to, I did a bunch of digging yesterday to try and find, all right, strained rotator cuff, what's the timeline? And there kind of isn't a confirmed one. Like my best guess, and I'm not a medical expert, so take this with like the largest grain of salt you can find, is it feels like 6 weeks is the absolute minimum that Yamamoto would be out, but it's not like a 6 to 8 week situation. It's a 6 to question mark weeks is how I would phrase it. I don't think Yamamoto is going to be back in the next month and a half for sure, so long as he doesn't have surgery. If he has surgery, he's going to be out way longer than that. So that would be the second part there. But let's talk about the shortstop piece. We talked about our show. There are 3 names that have been connected at various points, either by somebody on our show or by national people actually making these connections, which would be Willy Adames if the Brewers, who are in first place, decide that they want to sell a guy who's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. The second one is Paul DeJong, who plays shortstop for the White Sox, and they stink, and they should be trading anybody and everybody. So that's the second one. And the third one is Bo Bichette. who plays for the Blue Jays, who has been reported to be available, despite the fact that the Blue Jays are somewhat competitive. And so those are the three names. Daniel, I'll come to you first. When we went through these last night, Adames has half a year of control. Bichette has a year and a half of team control. DeYoung, I believe, is a free agent at the end of the year as well. When I looked at DeYoung's numbers and dug into some of the StatCast stuff, so I know this isn't Matt's favorite topic, so I apologize there, Matt. But when I dug into his stuff, like he's a league average fielder and none of the offensive metrics are that awesome. Like his barrel rate, hard hit rate are good, but he's one of the worst at whiff, strikeout, and walk rate, like in all of Major League Baseball, bottom 6%. So DeYoung to me doesn't feel like an upgrade over Miguel Rojas, if I'm being honest. Rojas is better defensively, probably worse offensively. But in those situations, like I just said last night, if those are my three options and knowing that those are three very different price points, I would go for Bichette. Like I would pay 120 cents on the dollar for the highest priced guy, which would be Bichette, and go all in on him. What are your thoughts on that, Daniel?
I mean, I think it all comes down to cost. Like I think Paul DeYoung and Bichette are kind of two opposite guys. Like Bichette is like kind of a known star who's having a down year, you could say, if you look at the stats, and DeYoung is kind of a career just average type guy who's having, you know, the best year of his career. So in theory, you probably would be overpaying for Paul DeYoung, who you probably could have just signed for like similar money to Kike Hernandez or Miguel Rojas. Like he was that type of free agent this past offseason. So I don't know if you want to overpay for a guy who is kind of, you know, having an outlier season that may not keep up as much. So in that sense, I'm with you. Like I'd rather go for Bo Bichette, who is not having a good year right now, but he has a longer track record of being a good player. And like you said, he has a year and a half of control. So in that sense, like you might even get him kind of buying low a little bit. Like I don't think Bo Bichette's trade value now is anywhere close to what it was, let's say, a year ago at this time. So if you believe in the track record and that he could get back to being an all-star caliber shortstop, then I think he would make a lot of sense. Whereas Paul DeYoung, you know, you might be overpaying a little and you're hoping that he could keep up what we both believe, I'd say, is not sustainable. But I still think, I don't agree with you that he's similar to Miguel Rojas. Like I think he would be an upgrade there, but is it enough of an upgrade that you're willing to give up, you know, whatever the White Sox are going to ask for? And they're going to want a lot just because he's having a career year and they're obviously in the gutter. So they're going to try to get as much as they can. So I agree. I'd be more interested in Bichette, but I think it would have to be like, I'm not paying a superstar package for a guy in Bichette who's having a really down year right now. So it would have to make sense, you know, as far as the package goes. But I believe in more like of a full career track record as opposed to just, you know, a 2-month sample or whatever.
Yeah, Bichette has been a 4+ wins above replacement player for the last 3 seasons. This year, he's way down. Offensively, it's like an 80-something weighted runs created plus. I will say this about DeYoung. We talked about this last night. Rojas and Kike are the two options currently at shortstop. Both of them are basically strictly platoon guys against left-handed pitching. The one nice thing is that DeYoung crushes righties. So in theory, he would be a guy, if you wanted to platoon Miguel Rojas and Paul DeYoung, that would kind of patch it together there. Again, he's league average defensively, so you know, probably slightly better than Mookie Betts, but not anywhere in the vicinity of Miguel Rojas. Matt, what about you? Like, if you were the Dodgers and I just told you, hey, there's 3 options. Option 1 is a guy that you can platoon with Miguel Rojas for the rest of the year just to get you by, and he's an upgrade over your current shortstop options when you factor in the platoon piece. Option 2 is a guy who's having a really good year this year, but is only under team control till the end, and then he's going to be a free agent. That would be Adames. And option 3 is the youngest of the bunch. He's only 26 years old. He has a year and a half of team control. He has the longest track record of success, but he's also going to be probably dramatically so the most expensive of those. Which of those 3 buckets, if you were the Dodgers, should you be aiming to fill, so to speak?
Well, I mean, do they need Bo Bichette if they already have Kevin Biggio at home? I mean, I'm with Daniel.
Blake is in the chat. Kevin Biggio is his guy. So Blake, we'll let you answer that one in the chat.
I would definitely pursue like kind of the best talent, right? And like most sustained, like Daniel said, like I do value kind of career success, because you could look at, you know, if somebody like Mookie Betts was having a down season, or like Freddie Freeman, like his, you know, quote unquote down start to this year, like he still is Freddie Freeman, like you're trusting he's going to rebound. So that's probably, especially for this team. I mean, look, like more so than any other year, like this is kind of has shaped up to be, the proverbial going all in for a World Series. Obviously, injuries to Mookie and Yamamoto maybe change that a little bit depending on what ends up happening with that. But honestly, I think where the Dodgers, what they're going to end up doing if they do trade for a shortstop, it's going to be somebody kind of more under the radar, and not any of the three players I think we just mentioned. And the main reason for that is and I know you didn't ask me this, but Andrew Friedman, like we know, typically he's not going to do a bidding war, right? And now if he calls any team asking about a shortstop, they know Mookie Betts is out for several weeks, if not multiple months, and so it's not going to be, we have this guy we're not really sure about, like we could work on. It's going to be, no, we want this, and this for Paul DeJong, which, as Daniel would say, no disrespect to Paul DeJong, but hey, you're just kind of Paul DeJong.
I actually agree with you, Matt, in that I wonder if there's a name. Like I was looking up stuff. Like I wonder if the Dodgers swing for the fences and like call up Washington and say, hey, what would it cost to get CJ Abrams off? Like if they just find one of these teams that has a guy that maybe nobody is thinking about being available, but the Dodgers say, hey, we're willing to pay the price. We need a long-term answer at shortstop. We value the team control more than we value prospects or value like having to pay a guy in free agency. So I kind of agree with you on that. Daniel, end this conversation on shortstops, and then we'll wrap the show up.
Oh, I admittedly haven't done a ton of Paul DeJong research, and I'm just kind of looking at the stats right now. And I would just say like what he's doing is not necessarily sustainable at all. Yeah. Like he's from a power perspective, like it's good. He's got 14 homers. That's obviously great. But he also has a 289 on base percentage, and he has only 9 walks on the season compared to 75 strikeouts, which might be one of the most drastic numbers in the league as far as strikeouts compared to walks. That's kind of similar to our guy Chris Taylor, his career numbers. I'd say he might even walk a little more. So if you're paying 120 cents on the dollar for Paul DeJong because he has 14 homers, I just wouldn't expect that production to keep up the way it has. So if you're doing that, you might as well go get someone like Bichette. And obviously we've talked about Willy Adames a lot, and I think we all like Willy Adames. He's kind of, the best of both. Like he's got the power, he's great defensively, but I just don't think he's going to be available. So if there is any inclination that he becomes available, then I would love for them to pursue that. But I just don't think with the Brewers in first place and the way they're playing, I don't think they're going to trade their shortstop in the middle of the lineup bat right now. So I agree with you guys. It's probably going to be, end up being someone who's not even on the radar at all, who we're not even talking about. But going with the guys we've been talking about, I would go for Bichette over DeJong.
Yeah, no, I agree. And the DeJong thing, I joked, his expected batting average based on like quality of contact and stuff is like 20 points below Gavin Lux's expected batting average. So if you want to just put some context on that, he's got more home runs. He does have that. So there you go. Well, hey, everybody, we appreciate you hopping in, talking City Connect jerseys, of course, getting into the Betts and Yamamoto stuff, as well as shortstop options. We greatly appreciate you joining us. Again, if you missed Blake and my conversation last night, go ahead and check it out. It's available via podcast, Apple, Spotify, Google, or right here on the Dodger Blue YouTube page as well. We did a ton of content on that. We talked a reliever that could be available for trade. We talked one of the coolest stories that's going on in the baseball right now that happens to be a Dodgers relief pitcher you probably haven't heard of before. So go ahead and check that out. That is Daniel Starkand. We are happy to say that is Matthew Moreno back on with us. So now he's broken the seal. So we're hoping to see a lot more of him now over the coming weeks. But content every day here on the Dodger Blue YouTube page. Live post-game show tomorrow night with Scott and I. Friday night, a live post-game show. Sunday night, a live show. All sorts of good stuff. So make sure you subscribe and ring the notification bell here as well. Enjoy the rest of your day, folks. As always, go Dodgers.